All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about a revolution that's not happening in some distant future. It's happening right now, in real time. This is the dawn of algorithmic warfare. And believe me, this isn't science fiction anymore. To prove it, I want to show you something that just happened, something that completely changes the rules of the game.
Okay, so picture this. Just last year, a massive drone, basically a mothership, launched its own smaller, autonomous kamikaze drone right from the sky. And boom, just like that, with that one test, the age of AI and warfare wasn't just coming, it was here. So let's really dig into what this means, because it's a huge deal for the future of conflict.
All right, first up, let's talk about the actual robot warriors. We're going to look at the hardware that's being tested and even deployed as we speak. This is the how of this whole new era of warfare.
So this is that test we were talking about. The US Army took a big, expensive Reaper drone and paired it with a smaller, much cheaper, expendable Switchblade 600. And this is a total game changer. Why? Because now the Reaper can hang back, safe and sound miles away, and just send in the Switchblade to do the dangerous work. It's an entirely new way to think about lethality and keeping your own assets safe.
But what is a Switchblade, really? Well, it's something called a loitering munition. Think of it as part spy drone, part missile. It can just hang out, circling a target area for hours, sending back a live video feed. And it waits, and waits, until an operator, or maybe soon an AI, gives the green light. And then, whoosh, it dives in. It's a one-way trip.
And make no mistake, this is a global race. It's not just the US. They're all in on mass-producing drone swarms. You've got Israel, who's been using loitering munitions for years, and there's China and Russia, both pouring resources into robotic ground vehicles, like tanks. The takeaway here is pretty clear. Everyone is betting big on autonomy. They're just playing their cards a little differently.
But you know, the robots themselves, that's only half the picture. The really mind-blowing revolution might be the one happening behind the scenes. We're talking about AI getting plugged directly into the brain of military operations, the command and control centers.
So it turns out AI is becoming a kind of digital staff officer. At the Pentagon, there's a platform called GenAI.mil that's actually using AI for high-level strategic planning. Then, out in the field, you've got systems like Project Titan that are sucking in data from everywhere, satellites, sensors, you name it, to find targets at a speed no human ever could. And think about it. This is the only way you could ever hope to coordinate hundreds or thousands of drones in a swarm. So this isn't just about a new weapon. It's a total rewire of the military's entire nervous system. Okay, so we've seen how this tech works, but all of this, it brings up some really big questions. We've covered the how, now let's get into the so what, because this leads us straight into a huge ethical minefield at the very center of automated warfare. And this, right here, is the absolute core of the debate. Let's say a fully autonomous drone makes a mistake. It hits a school bus instead of a tank. Who's responsible? I mean, seriously, who do you blame? The person who wrote the code, the commander who sent it out there, the machine itself? This is what people call the accountability gap, and frankly, it's a legal and moral black hole.
And you can see just how divided the world is on this. At the UN, you had 156 countries vote in favor of keeping humans in control of these weapons, but then you had 5 countries vote against making any binding rules, and guess who they were? Yep, the major players developing the tech, like the US and Russia. It really lays bare the central tension here. Almost everyone wants rules, but the ones actually building the robots are blocking them.
So, with a global ban totally stalled, the countries that are actually building military AI are now scrambling to write their own rule books. It's like they're trying to regulate themselves before the rest of the world can do it for them.
Take the US, for example. They've put forward this political declaration that over 40 other countries have signed on to. Now, it's not a legally binding treaty, but it does lay out some key ideas. Things like, test these systems like crazy. Try to get the bias out of the algorithms. And, this one's absolutely critical, make sure there's always an off switch, a big red button a human can push if the machine starts going rogue. So, where does that leave us? This brings us to our third part, the now what? All of this tech, all these ethical debates, they're all feeding into a brand new kind of global competition. It feels a lot like an old-school arms race, but this time the weapons are code and silicon, not nuclear warheads.
And the amount of money being thrown at this is, well, it's staggering. The U.S. defense budget alone is closing in on $1 trillion. A huge chunk of that is being funneled directly into AI and robotics. When you're spending that kind of money, it creates a momentum that's almost impossible to stop.
And the two main competitors in this sprint are pretty obvious. On one side, you have the United States, just pouring cash into R&D to stay ahead and sharing tech with allies through things like the AUKUS Pact. On the other side, you have China, which is jacking up its own budget and, at least according to U.S. intelligence, isn't shy about using cyber espionage to catch up fast.
And just look at this timeline. This isn't some slow and steady marathon. It's an all-out sprint. We're talking just the last couple years, the U.S. went from announcing a plan to mass-produce drones to actually rolling out generative AI across the entire Pentagon. The pace it's just breathtaking. Blink and you miss a major development.
Of course, a race this fast creates some new and pretty terrifying dangers. First, rapid escalation. When kill chains operate at machine speed, the window for diplomacy just slams shut. That means the risk of an accidental war goes way up. Second, asymmetric warfare. Cheap, smart drones can give smaller nations or even terrorist groups the kind of power that used to belong only to superpowers. The whole idea of global stability is being shaken to its core.
So, where is all of this headed? For our final section, let's look ahead. What do the experts think the future of war is actually going to look like? And what are the huge questions we have to answer, not tomorrow, but today?
Well, experts basically see two paths forward. The first one is the most likely, at least in the short term. It's more of a pragmatic evolution. By 2030, AI just becomes a normal tool. It's like an expert co-pilot, helping with logistics and intelligence, but a human is still firmly in the pilot's seat for any lethal decisions. Then there's the other path, the more sci-fi one. It's called the singularity of war. This is the hypothetical future where conflicts are fought entirely by machines, and critics are screaming about the dangers, unforeseen bugs, runaway escalation, and a total loss of human control.
And this gets to the central paradox of this whole thing. On the one hand, supporters say AI will make war more precise, maybe even less deadly, with less collateral damage. But here's the flip side. If you make war super efficient and less risky for your own side, does that just make it easier to decide to go to war in the first place?
And that leads us to the ultimate nightmare scenario. What happens when you plug AI into nuclear command and control? Could an AI mistake a flock of birds for incoming missiles and trigger a flash war, an accidental apocalypse at the speed of light? Or could it give us better data and actually make us safer? The terrifying part is, nobody really knows the answer. So in the end, I think it all boils down to one question. Are we using this technology to code compassion into a bomb, or are we just automating the path to war? How we answer that, well, that's probably going to define the rest of this century.